Erudia, an ancient land where gods walk among men. A living, breathing high fantasy world that we want to put into your hands. But we cannot do this alone. In order to bring you back to what tabletop is all about, combat, exploration, adventure, we need your help to bring it to life. By supporting us on Patreon, you can support this project and the cast of Moonskull, with our promise that we will answer to the only people that matter. You. Legend Seeker. Your legend starts here. Forge your path. Shape your destiny.
What?
Hello, you chat bastards, and truly, you are the biggest lot of chat bastards I have ever met. None of that was my fault. Not a single thing, none of it, and I don't really understand what was going on. It was all Restream's fault, okay? I hit the right button 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and it kept giving me the same stupid results. So I blame the technology, not me. I have the biggest brain, and yeah. And Frost just slinked off screen because he's embarrassed. Oh, there he is.
I had to retrieve a friend.
Okay. I am Erudi. You know who I am, I think. And, well, actually, no, that is cinematic magic, Darth Dave. That is cinematic magic. It's just cropping the screen. All the empty space is gone. But I'm Erudi. You guys know me. We're here to do some Legend Seeker stuff, answer questions for you guys, both yours and some of this guy's, because apparently he's got a few of them that I have not answered quickly enough or completely enough, and he needs to grill my very big brain. Let's say hello. Hello, Frost. Hi.
Hi. I'm I don't even know how to respond to most of what chat has said up to this point, so I'm just gonna let you deal with them. I'm just gonna sit here and act like a supervillain with a cat in my lap. It'd be great. I'll get you next time, Gadget.
Yes, indeed. I mean, what do they say? You live long enough to see yourself become the villain or something like that? Some quote like that. And you've been around a very long time, so at some point you had to have had your villain arc. Maybe starting now.
Oh, it comes back around, man. It's cyclical. It's like the 70s. It keeps happening.
Wonderful. Let's see what chat bastards we have. Well, Tuesnose and had a network connection thing. I'm sure I'll be back any second now. All right, there we go. Tuesnose, Jensen, of course we got Frost over here. Pretty sure I saw some others in there. Darth Dave, and wasn't there a few more? I thought I saw a few more. I saw a few more.
Tomix is there.
Oh, Gino. Gino's here.
Thomas, Gino, Jensen, Crescent was there.
No, Jeff's out there. I don't know who a Crescent is. I've never met anybody named Crescent. Lynn Green is here. Hello, Lynn Green. Fantastic Sarcastic. What's going on? All right, I think I caught up to everybody that I know of that's here. For some reason, the live chat is still broken and not showing me even how many people are here, which is unusual, but we'll figure that out.
Circus. But no one else of consequence. No one who, no one. What is the line?
I mean, I was avoiding
trifled with.
I was avoiding circus on purpose.
Oh,
okay.
Never mind.
All right, so we've got questions, lots of questions. Don't really have a theme tonight, but we do have Jensen, it's not my fault, Jensen. It's not my fault. Yeah, so you guys might notice a change of venue, by the way. I see you guys using your emojis, your emotes. That's why, in part, we just hit 10K. So if you guys didn't hear, Moonskull's officially at 10K subs. We did that of our own hard work and grit. We clawed and climbed and worked through blood, sweat, and lots of Erudi tears, mostly. We climbed our way up to 10K, all on our own. And now that we're here, I said, well, by golly, why are we over on this other channel when we could be putting Legend Seeker in front of our whole audience at this point? I mean, this channel's now a TTRPG channel and horror channel altogether. All that other stuff has kind of just been trimmed off, so it's no longer hurting the algorithm. We've got emotes over here. People can super chat questions, and we're going to be able to do some member-only exclusive stuff, maybe some portions of streams that are members-only, or even, well, I'm not going to announce it yet. I got something else I'm about to announce here very soon that I know you guys are going to be very happy about. Something you've been asking for a while. And we're going to include some members-only perks to go alongside that. So those things are coming, and this channel gives us the ability to do that. And plus, it's a way that if you are watching on YouTube and you don't use Patreon, and you're still trying to find a way to support, you can. So let me just throw out there, we do have a $50 tier here on Moonskull called the Legendary tier. It doesn't see a lot of use, but that tier specifically is earmarked for Legend Seeker. So anybody that's subscribed at that tier, that money is earmarked for Legend Seeker, and we'll get you into kind of the same things that you get on Patreon, so the play tests and things like that. So it's a way that if you don't really like dealing with Patreon, you don't really like dealing with Discord, but you're already here on YouTube and setting super chats and stuff anyways, you can become a member that way. But yeah, that's why we decided to come over here. We just wanted to have everything under one roof. Since this is a tabletop channel, and this is a tabletop game, and the first ever stream of Legend Seeker will be on this channel, it just made sense. It all just made sense. Right, Frost? Does it all make sense?
Everything makes sense all times. Everything you just said makes complete 100% sense. Maybe
wonderful.
2%, 103%. Let's go with 103.
103. It's a good number. That's a really good number. Yeah. But yeah, this is our Legend Lore stream. So every now and again, we might have a topic. I don't have one today. I don't have a particular subset of something that I've been working on that I want to share with you guys and pick your brains about. So this is just going to be an open forum kind of Q&A. Starting with Frost, I know he's got a list of questions that he's probably DM'd me already, and I have just neglected to answer, plus new ones that he's come up with as well. And so he's going to pick my brain about those live, and some of this we're literally writing live in front of you guys and deciding things here on screen, so you're getting to see the process a little bit too, how the sausage is made. Oh god, I shouldn't have said sausage. Horror host is here. Fuck my life. Oops. Brown knows him more, Frost. Was he brown nosing me? I didn't hear. Oh, the 103%. Yeah, because I make a lot of sense and I have a big brain.
Yeah. And
then once,
not sarcasm.
No, definitely not sarcasm. He would never do that to me. So once Frost is done asking all his questions, then we're gonna go over and see what you guys have posted in various places. I see there's already a bunch in chat. We got some over Discord, and of course on Patreon are all places that you guys can do that. And so as my last pitch before we hop into the questions, two things. What is Legend Seeker? If this is your first time here, it is a tabletop role-playing game we are making for you guys. It is D20 based. We're not completely reinventing the wheel here. If you've played a D20 system before, you're going to feel at home. You're going to be able to sit in the seat, and it's going to be like getting in any car where there's a steering wheel and there's a shift knob and you got pedals and stuff. Like the function of a car is there. We've just added some bells and whistles to make it a more dynamic and luxurious experience. And come up with some of our own systems to integrate in there. So that is what Legend Seeker is. We're going back to the roots of modular tabletop role-playing game, focused on adventure exploration and not being in the real world is a really big one. If you want to support it, how can you do that? The main way is on Patreon. If you go to our Patreon, we've got several tiers there of all sorts of affordable levels. anywhere from $5 at the copper or common tier, all the way up to $250 at the mythic tier. And this is an ongoing support of the production process. I know we had some questions about that in a different stream. Somebody was asking. We don't have the luxury of a publisher or anything like that. This is all kind of coming out of pocket. So the people who are helping support are helping us produce the actual product, the book, the artwork, the editors, and all of the stuff that it takes to put together a massive 3-book mega system like this. So every ounce or every penny of support that you guys provide is a huge, huge, huge help. And each of the tiers come with special things, benefits for you being a part of that, all the way up to the, like I said, the mythic tier. If you're at gold or mythic, you get some really awesome things. You get characters canonized in universe for you. You're going to get exclusive miniatures of our big bad god Grix that'll be exclusive only to people who've supported on Patreon. They'll never be available anywhere else. It'll be painted, if you're at the mythic tier, it'll be painted by the same artist who the Joe Manganiello, you might know him from like True Blood, for example. He's also been on Critical Role. The guy who paints his miniatures, and if you've ever seen his miniatures, they're freaking awesome, by the way. That guy is going to be painting your Grix minis for being at the mythic tier. He's not come cheap, by the way. So you'll get some really cool stuff for supporting, and we really appreciate you guys. And at the very basic level, no matter what tier you take, you can at least give benefits to the cast on Moonskull. So if you're already watching our tabletop role-playing games, and like maybe you see Froste over on Death Rattle, who's always on the edge of death, and you're like, gee, I think I maybe should help that guy. You can give a benefit to him because you supported Legend Seeker. So there we go.
I like this message.
Well, so the problem is, I know I'm saying this out loud, Chris.
Gear knob thing.
Oh, did I just disconnect? Okay, no, okay.
No, I'm just making fun of your car knowledge. What?
Yeah, pedals and knobs. Everybody likes to play with my knobs. Chrysanth,
I'm out.
The Streamlabs, no, not those knobs. The Streamlabs thing. The problem is, if I don't know why, but when I turn it on, it brings up the stupid giant emoji thing and ticking sound, and I can't figure out how to separate them. Something changed, and I have to figure out what it is. But that's why it's not announcing it. I'm sorry. All right, Frost, you've got questions. So many questions.
Let's hear them. I'm going to try and keep to just 3. They're a little broad. One of them is when I was working on a new area of Kiru, it occurred to me that it would be fun to have definite regional variants of creatures, like different types of trolls. Like the ones over here they have keen sense of smell, they act a little different, they have access to maybe some blood magic because of things that they do, but they're a totally different type of troll. They're like gray trolls rather than the normal greenish trolls or whatever. What do you think about that? Is that something that you're comfortable with? You think is a little bit too crazy? Like you don't want 14 different colors of kobolds, but maybe you want 3 or 4 different types.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. So probably the way I ultimately will want to handle that, if there are common varieties, so something that you'll see a lot of, I don't know, for example, saying trolls, perhaps there are hill trolls and there are ice trolls, for example. And those are pretty common things you'll see in their own regions, and would make sense to have in a Tome of Threats. But something perhaps that's maybe a little bit more unique, whenever we do our adventures, those are going to have their own mini bestiaries inside. So for example, if we focus in on Kiru, there's probably going to be a Tome of Threats section inside of whatever setting guide or adventure is focused on Kiru. So if there are a particular type of troll that would be kind of restricted specifically to that region, that's probably where we would keep that variant.
Okay. Yeah, like the special spiders and your bee velociraptors are going to be in the jungles of Xanath down there.
Yeah, some things that, or I guess the way I think of it is things that are like Godlands wide or very large region wide would probably make sense to go in the Tome of Threats. If they are like smaller region locked, like a specific continent only, that would probably be adventure based or setting guide based for the future settings.
Okay, like stuff in the Umbral Atoll, like I have the Cur and the Kruru and a bunch of different things here and there that are very specific to that island that, well, don't really show up anywhere else.
Yeah, or we might even have, for example, if it's something that's lore prominent and you think would make sense to keep in the Tome of Threats, like those things, you could also have like the basic versions of them so that keepers have a way to put them in the story. But when we're ready to explore them more, we expand the list of the different types of them. So you got like their shamans and things like that, things that would set them apart.
Okay. Cool. And I'm technically going to put the next two questions in one. It'll be easier that way. We were talking a little bit before about the idea of artifacts, relics, things from bygone eras and things that players should never ever get their hands on. Akin to the Black Cauldron or a Palantir or something like that. Having these kind of iconic things woven into the stories and talked about, because I think it's going to be important to have a sense of place, but sometimes the sense of place is given by the legends that the people have. Like, there's the black spear of this guy. Like, nobody's ever going to probably find it, but everybody talks about it. Nobody's going to find Excalibur, but we always talk about it. Do you have any thoughts on like restricting that to like very few items? Like, because I know we have the different periods too, like way back in time, and then the post God Killer War and during the God Killer War, we'll have different types. But I mean, it's an open-ended question. I'm just curious what your take on that is, because like I said, you don't want to introduce these items to characters, but they should know about them.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess. So you can definitely put lore items in the lore, and I mean, obviously the easiest way to just is to just not make them available, right? Don't build the stats. As soon as you build the stats, the players can use said stats, right? Somebody famously told me, I think you even echoed this at one point, don't put anything in the game you don't want your players to get their hands on, because they'll find a way.
Exactly.
So yeah, it gets tricky, particularly since, so I've mentioned before that we have been kind of thinking ahead. I've got plans for the future books already, kind of a framework of places we're going to go. And at some point, there's going to be a gods and deities book that is like, it really goes deeper into each of the gods and talks about their domains, maybe even has like a map of the domain, shows their palace, what kind of defenses might be there, and of course the gods themselves have godly weapons. So then it becomes, okay, if we're going to put stats on these gods, we're going to put weapons on these gods. One, that implies that the players have some way to kill them, and two, that they could potentially get these weapons. So that'll be a creative hurdle that we'll have to handle down the road. Maybe the weapon can only be attuned to somebody who has the divine spark, something like that. We'll have to think of a way around it. But or maybe if we want it to be in high level hands, I don't know. But that's something we'll have to ponder. But yeah, if there's something that is like extremely legendary and would obviously be beyond the scope of what players should have in their hands, it should just be in the lore but not in the writing. And some things maybe they will be mentioned and perhaps they can be found down the road, because there's also the element of over time myths become bigger than they even were in reality. Maybe you do find Excalibur, and yes, it is very powerful, but is it really as powerful as the myths say it was? Maybe not, but it's still badass. Could be something like that too.
Right. Cool. I did remember one more thing though, and you kind of already answered this, but I think it's probably a good idea to ask it again here. Is we have fire sand, that very volatile alchemical mixture that is incredibly dangerous that Piotr uses, and he's the little guy with the bombs on the front of the tome, the piece of art that Effie did. Is there going to be gunpowder, like cannons, guns, things like that?
So there's not going to be guns. There's not going to be gunpowder. This is going to be a gun-free setting. It's going to be swords and sorcery and none of that. The only explosive thing there's going to be are like handheld-sized explosives that are used by the fire sand, and they're incredibly imprecise and very dangerous. And fire sand or any other explosive ingredient like that would be far too dangerous, probably to explode near your person or to put in large quantities on a ship. You would not want to pack it into a gun and try to explode it. You're probably going to explode your own face. If you're throwing a bomb full of fire sand, your goal is to obliterate what's on the other side. You're not expecting whatever it is to walk free from that. So why would you want to explode that near your face, I guess, is the philosophy here. And putting it on ships, obviously, probably wouldn't want that either. One accident, your whole ship goes down. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, it'll just be explosive. So one of the classes will have an actual tree for handling fire sand in using bombs. So it's gonna be fun.
It will be, yeah. Well, and I did write in the lore of Piotr's backstory is that one of the reasons he got in trouble is he was using that stuff trying to help people, and he ended up severely damaging an ancient bridge. Got sent up north. Sentenced to basically a year of time in the fort up there fighting the orcs, which he was not pleased about. It was doing a great job, and they're like, wow, this fire sand is amazing, do more of it. And he ended up accidentally blowing one of their towers of their keep up, and then they're like, you're done, thanks for your service, get out of here.
You're out. Yeah.
And yeah, it's not safe. That's why the place called Five Falls exists up in the area above Thalassia, off away from the dwarves, because it used to be called Three Falls, and the dwarves there working with this stuff shattered the headland with it, and now there are 5 waterfalls instead of 3.
Amazing.
You just change the name after you alter the topography with the explosion.
If you make more holes, gotta change the name a little bit. That makes sense.
Exactly.
Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be some pretty. It's probably gonna be. I haven't ironed out the full stats of the weapon itself yet, other than I have an idea of how I want the damage to work. But it's probably going to be one of the few things that when you make it, it sort of has a spell component to it that you consume to make it. And that would be the fire sand itself. So, yeah, that's kind of the idea. So it's not a free resource. It's something that does cost money. So like the idea of, for example, doing an enormous terrorist attack or something with it is it would be incredibly expensive. That would require either like years of stockpiling the stuff, or you need somebody with a pretty big bankroll behind you.
So no fire sand plot on the 5th of November. Got it.
You can have one, but there's probably going to be some noble or ancient vampire lord or dragon or something that has a wealth behind it ultimately, because it's not cheap to come across fire sand. That is for sure.
Excellent.
What else you got for me?
Those are the main questions I have. There are a few other things that I'm still kind of just brewing around in my head, and I may actually be able to formulate a couple of them. I did have one thing I was going to ask you about nautical stuff, but the cannons kind of answers it, and the fire sand thing also answers it, because I mean they have probably something along akin to Greek fire and ballista, things that you use against other ships. Is the question was, do you at launch, do you think you're going to be putting things like stats for ships in there, or is that going to be something that gets added later? Because some DMs absolutely eat that stuff up. Some players and DMs never touch it.
So that is somebody asked a similar question in a prior Q&A stream. My answer really hasn't deviated too much from that. In the book, there will be a methods of travel section that will list things like prices for fare to be shipped across the ocean and that sort of stuff. But there aren't going to be actual stats for ships yet, or rules for nautical warfare or any of that. That'll come in a later supplement. It could be in the Advanced Keeper's Guide, which is one of the very next books after So after the initial core set release, the Advanced Keeper's Guide and the Starter Adventure and the First Setting Guide are the first 3 next books that would be following. It'll probably be either in the Advanced Keeper's Guide or a following setting guide that maybe is on a coastal town or something that would probably have a lot to say about pirates and things like that. But there'll be some generic rules in there and some advice in the GM section about kind of improvising naval battles, things like that, but nothing like fully extended.
Okay, cool.
And as far as actual warfare goes, yeah, you're right. There are going to be some creative, mundane ways to somehow bring about fire and things like that in naval warfare. But hey, we also got magic in the setting. So you might even have crews for like low-level casters who've been abducted by pirates or inducted into the local militaries and stuff who have access to flame powers and things like that to be used against the opposition and other ships. So there are plenty of ways to get kind of the same result, but not have cannons.
Cool.
And not blow up your own ship.
You hope. As long as your mage doesn't do something stupid.
Well, you know what? That is a good point. And thinking of some of my tables, yeah, they'd probably find a way. All right, so that's the end of your list. Should I hop into?
For now, I'm gonna ruminate on some of those horrifying stories that I can come to mind when you're talking about that stuff.
There's quite a few, I know, and you've experienced many of them firsthand.
Yeah.
All right, I know Chrysantha has a bunch of them there. I'm gonna real quick check Patreon first because I know she doesn't have access to that. See if anybody left anything for us there. Let's see. Oops, close. You guys are not very chatty over on Patreon, I will say that. But that's all right. Yeah, all right, so we don't have any questions posted there. All right, so let's see what we've got. I'm gonna move this to the front screen so I'm not always looking to the side. And Darth Dave coming in hot with this might be a Frost question. How do the rulers of different regions get along in Erudia? Is there a long-standing Cold War of some sort?
There are a couple of them. If you remember me talking about the lore around the time that the God Killer War was going to start, Agrium was an empire, not just the island, and they were almost all the kingdoms of the main part of the Godlands were under them, or at least allied with them. The humans of all the kingdoms except the Lassia, the Azure Kingdom, and well, Kiru, because Kiru is just, they're their own people. They're not really interested in anything or the gods. They were all under the banner of the Agrian Empire, but once they started taking heat during the war and they started getting beaten back by Grixis forces over and over and over, they finally retreated and left everybody to their own devices. Some of the kingdoms were like, oh, wow, this really sucks. But the Freilanders, however you want to pronounce their name, depending on where you're from in the world, they absolutely do not like the Agrians. They do not get along. They harbor a long-standing grudge. The leaders especially, if there's anything Agrian, like the roads, they're like, we don't need their roads. So they kind of grudgingly use them and grudgingly keep them up to date and take their towers and cover them in their own things. And so they kind of live off of the backs of the stuff that the Agrians did. And they're like, what do they ever do for us? Besides, indoor plumbing and, writing and reading and language and all this stuff. But they hate them. So they do not get along. And Freiland is a very, very major power now, kind of rivaling Agrium. So if you're an Agrian character going into Freiland, you're going to be treated a little differently, basically because of the way you look, the way you dressed, and what you are. There are a few other areas that are like that too, like the two groups of dwarves don't love one another because the dwarves of Zentur left because they were tired of the kings and queens line there telling everyone what to do. So they went off on their own, had a horrible time of it, finally established their kingdom, became wealthy, but have never really forgiven those dwarves for kind of like not helping them after they decided to leave. Dwarves, they make a lot of good decisions. The Azure Kingdom and the people from Kiru, the Kyrians, do not get along, but they've never had a war. It is literally a Cold War that's been going on for centuries between those two groups, and they've never attacked one another. But the Kyrians just know it's going to happen at some point, even though it probably won't. So in a nutshell, there's a bunch of it.
Perfect. Yeah, you'd expect as much. Even though there was a lot of unity during the God Killer War, humans have short lives relatively, and things just get forgotten, and people just start going back to their old shit again.
Yep. Oh, and the elves don't really like the dragons, and the dragons don't like the elves. But that's nothing new.
That is definitely nothing new. That is a long-standing feud. We got some fun lore coming with a little bit of that too, particularly around our big green dragon lady and our big black dragon dude. I think we got some fun lore going on over there. So hopefully that answered your question, Dave. But it looks like you got more. Some things sometimes I just forget things. Do druids wild shape? Wait, do druids wild shape get them additional hit points? I know the wild shape is more like disguising themselves as a creature. Yeah, so the way I currently have it functioning for the druid class, rather than it being a true wild shape into the creature and making your DM go into the book or the compendium or whatever and pull out a million creatures every time you want to change into something, the lore here says druids never truly match a creature perfectly, but more capture their essence, and the more powerful a druid gets, the closer and closer they get to imitating creatures. But basically, it's going to be almost like getting a HP bonus, a temporary HP bonus on top of your core stats. And then there are going to be some tables that have abilities that you can give your imitated creature. So if you were trying to turn into like a giant spider and you go look at the tables, there might be an option to spin webs or climb walls or whatever. And the more powerful you get, the more of those options you get to pick, which means the more complex creatures you get to make over time. Even though initially you might not be able to copy those creatures perfectly. So perhaps maybe in your very early levels, you might be trying to imitate a giant spider, and you're only going to be able to either climb on the wall or do the launch web option because you're still kind of a low-level druid and you haven't mastered that imitation yet. So it gives you a lot more flexibility and freedom in terms of what you can imitate. You don't have to rely on the existence of a stat block for the creature in the Tome of Threats. And it also creates a little bit less work for your GM and lets you just kind of have all that stuff at the ready. And then, is there a burrow mechanic in Legend Seeker asking for a friend? Okay, Dave, I see you. Yes, there will be the ability for creatures, at least, to burrow. And it'll have its limitations, of course. I don't know if... I know you're referencing the Savage Pathfinder burrow. I don't know if it's going to be quite that strong. But yes, the ability to burrow will exist. Darth Dave is full of questions. If Moss is there, how thirsty is his campaign going to be? Is it going to be more Dungeon Daddy or more Erudi like, aka no adult content? Wow. Well, Moss is a very thirsty individual, so I suspect this will be a very thirsty campaign. He'll have more information to say about what he's working on probably sometime into the new year. We haven't really started up his stream yet. He's kind of he's behind me and Frost by several months. So he's still kind of diving into the content, learning it, and building his own world lore, and then kind of making the skeleton of what he wants the campaign is going to be built, or to be built. And then we'll start putting him on stream and letting him talk about things a little bit more. Hopefully we'll get him on one of these here soon too, just so he can kind of, even if he doesn't have answers to everything, he can get edumacated alongside us. Dark Dave says, in the Pantheon, are there actual rivalries between the gods, or more like friendly rivalries after they all joined together and defeated Grix? There are definitely rivalries between gods. There are a few gods that I haven't even announced yet. They're going to be announced here very soon. It's actually on my list of things to announce. It's Let me look at my little sticky, my little digital sticky. It is the second one. So there's one thing, and then the next thing is I'm going to be announcing these other gods. So there are a few more, and there'll definitely be rivalries for those gods, and there'll be some that are more like friendly, competitive type rivalries. Yeah. But there'll also be some that are more deep rooted, particularly the God Killer War did not make them all friends. There were definitely gods who were on the side of Grix, either the entire time or only a portion of the time. But either way, they came at odds with the other gods and killed their worshippers and raised towns of their followers and helped him achieve his plans when they thought that his victory was imminent. So there are definitely some deep-seated rivalries there, and then there are just even some rivalries born of the natural inclinations of their domains. They don't necessarily hate each other for deep grievance reasons, but for natural reasons, like ruin and preservation. If you're a Mistborn fan, that kind of concept. But yeah, and then of course there are plenty of alliances. A lot of the gods get away or get along, and there's even a court pantheon, like court of gods who get to make all the key decisions, and a few of them don't get to sit on the council, and they might be a little Anakin Skywalker about it. I don't know. Maybe. So there's that one, and then Darth Dave had another one. Oh, I think he has answered this in Q&A before as well, but is there a max level in mind, and would most campaigns take you to those max levels, or like D&D max levels is 20 and most campaigns go to 12? So yes, we do currently have a level cap of 20. That's going to feel pretty... So part of the goal of Legend Seeker is to make things feel familiar enough that anybody from the big three games can come over and be in familiar territory and have an idea of, like I said, the car analogy, right? You get in a car, you have a general idea of what you expect from getting in that car. You got a steering wheel, you've got pedals, you're going to be sitting in a seat, right? But the idea is we are changing a lot of the features, right? So it'd be like going into a 1993 Saturn SL1, going from that to a modern day Tesla Model Y with full driving mode enabled, right? Like there's going to be a familiarity of the basic concept, but we're going to have things that are going to be different. So as you start exploring the features of your car, you'll be like, oh, that's cool, or that's more dynamic, or that's useful. And so that's kind of going to be the idea. So yeah, there'll still be a max level of 20. I haven't got far enough down the road in our planning to decide whether or not we'll ever do like epic levels or anything like that. That lets you expand out to like 30 and like go toe-to-toe with gods and things like that. I don't know if we're going to do all that, but we do, at least for now, have a max level of 20. And then when you deal with threats that are, well, I'll call them epic level, there'll be things that have CR ratings that are well beyond what should be capable of even a level 20 character. So facing off against a god in their palace is probably a doomed prospect, for example. But yeah, as far as the campaigns, I don't know, since we haven't actually written any yet. We're gonna have to feel that out as we go and see what that looks like. I can tell you statistically across all brands, take your pick, D&D, Pathfinder, Savage Worlds, any of them. There is a very low amount of high-level gameplay because it never sold. That was always kind of the lowest selling things they ever put out. Anything that was like, hey, this campaign is going to take you from level 15 to 20, nobody really ever bought it. Or if they did make like a Dungeon of the Mad Mage type thing that goes level 20, most people don't ever finish it. So I think companies in general are disincentivized from making high level content, which is a real shame, but I would like there to be high level content. Whether that's going to be a standard, I don't know. Because when you think level 20, man, you're getting into even like level, I'd say 13 on up. You're at a whole different level of play. You're no longer just, hey, we're the adventurers going out and slaying monsters and finding treasures. At that point, you have the influence and power to be affecting nation states, and probably are you're in an epic tier level of confrontation, extra planar, dealing with gods, probably literally being handpicked by the gods to stop other gods or major invasion forces, and having to decide the fates of kingdoms and kings. And like that's really high level play, and that kind of story is almost an adventure of itself. So it's hard to make an adventure that goes from 1 to 20, because the scale gets so much bigger once you get into that higher class of play. So it almost makes more sense to make, say, an adventure from 1 to 12, and that's its own story, and then either make a sequel adventure or a separate adventure entirely that goes from like 13 to 20 or something, because that would be a whole other story. Campaigns that go to level 20 are years in the making, typically. Years in the making. I think I've only ever had one game ever get into the 20s privately, so, or up like the upper tier. I mean, do you get a lot of high level play, Frost?
I mean, I've run campaigns that have gone from 1 till 20 and beyond, but like you said, they're years in the making. Some of those campaigns will run for 4 or 5 years. We started campaigns where the players were high level at the beginning and went forward. A lot of times, people enjoy it because they're like, I want to punch gods in the face, like Comics was saying. I think it was Comics was saying it. Yeah. But they're ultimately, a lot of players find them unrewarding because they didn't really earn getting to that point. Yeah. Some players just don't care. They're like, I don't care. I just want the artifact. I want to smack things. And look, I killed a bunch of stuff and I have all the kills listed. It's just, it depends on your table and the people who want to do the stuff. Some people want to be the characters that are remembered and known across the world, and that was they're doing the whole role playing. Other ones just want to see huge numbers flying off of stuff.
Yeah, the other thing that always becomes a big thing with high levels, especially with casters on board, is turns take forever. Yeah, so combat can be a lot more of a slog in higher levels too. So, and if you when you try to,
I was gonna say it's weird too, because with casters, like we played my Tuesday night game and we're doing the Vecna Eve of Ruin or whatever the heck it is. And we are level 16 and my character is like, okay, he's this little guy who floats around in a book that's like a blind broom, and he's a small scholar, and he's like casting spells, and this huge thing happened and we're fighting a dragon and 2 undead rocks, and a woman was casting spells, and the other people got inconvenienced, so he's like, I better just open up the floodgates. And he starts casting, and I didn't miss with a single thing I did. And I obliterated the first rock. I obliterated the second rock. I killed the dragon, and the lady was killed by the other guy before they even got into the fight. And they're like,
yeah,
okay. And my character is not min-maxed. It's just sometimes things align and you're like, well, doing 5d10 force or radiant damage as a bonus action on your turn, plus casting an entirely, large spell like a 7th, 8th level spell at things that change between them. It's devastating.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think of it when you're at that level. Like I said, you're almost on the you're not the bad guy, you're the hero, but in terms of mechanics, you're kind of the big bad at that point. So throwing something like a rock at you when you're level 16 or level 18 or whatever, you're the big bad monster smiting the small adventurer at that point. So creating an adventure where you are challenged and the story makes sense at that level, it's a challenge, and I understand why a lot of companies struggle with it, and it's certainly something I aspire to do. We don't want to make all these higher levels and these cool spells and abilities and just never see them used. But design will certainly be something. I think the odds of, outside of a dungeon crawl, which is contained and forces you into a funnel, that would make sense. But as far as an open-ended adventure that goes from 1 to 20, it's a lot less likely. I think you're more likely, if we do high level content, it'll be something episodic or isolated. So for example, if we did something in Kiru, maybe the first adventure path, whatever, is an adventure in Kiru, blah 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 blah, levels 1 to 12, and then maybe there is in the same region a follow-on adventure, or in a second region that might be our high level play option, and then it'll give some actual. Another option could be making a book that's for high level play, And instead of making a big story, it could be like several seeds or plot hooks to challenge high level adventures. But we got a lot of ways we can tackle it, but it's going to take time and play testing and getting a few adventures under our belt to kind of understand and answer that question fully, I think. But I think that at least answers the design challenges and what we're looking at.
Yeah, because as a high-level player, you want to feel that those threats that you encountered as a low-level player, either as that low-level player or as previous ones, are not a big deal with you. It's like, kobolds, whatever. Whole bunch of trolls, whatever. And at this point, you're like, oh, that's a dragon rider. Oh, that's a lich riding a dragon. Okay, now, guys, we might have to strategize here. We can't just blow everything up with a fireball. And then you start having to, then you get the Disparu. Wait, what? He counterspell? What?
yeah. Oh man, I'm never gonna forget that. He's bitter about that to this day, man.
Well, some people just don't like their toys being taken away.
They don't like counterspell. So yeah, there you go. I guess short answer. We don't know yet, but we hope to be able to find a way to effectively make high-level play viable. We'll see how to do that. There might be some that might be a bit of the underlining of our system work, right? Hopefully, the way I've designed the spell slinger system and how there's technically less spells than D&D, but they scale with you as your power grows. Maybe that'll help. Yeah. All right, let's see. Tomix, is there a big... Wow, Tomix, is there a big titty goth girlfriend god? Also, is there a god of flowers asking for a friend? To your first question,
Davila might
fit that bill. She probably has some, different outfits that could fall into the category of goth, and if you can seduce her, I guess she could be your waifu. Good luck, since she is the goddess of seduction. More likely she's seducing and throwing you away. Also, is there a god of flowers? There's a god of nature. Flowers fall under nature.
Yeah, I mean, you could have. Do you mean cultivated flowers or wildflowers? Because you got Erudor, you got
Yeah. Which kind of flower? What are we looking for? If you're talking Lego flowers, that might be under
Vulcan.
Yeah, Vulcan. Yeah, constructs and yeah, that's exactly right. Yes. So there you go. You got lots of options for gods of flowers, I would say. So I hope your friend is satisfied. Circus Freak, is Legend Seeker primarily an RPG rule set or primarily a setting and lore architecture? How many questions is this going to be? Will the stats and rules be able to be adapted to fit other settings outside the world of Erudia to give us a sci-fi or a post-apocalyptic Legend Seeker experience? Do you think it would be possible to adapt the settings of Erudia and the backgrounds and lore to the other rule sets, Savage Erudia or the like? That's a lot of questions. So for the first question, it's kind of both. It's an RPG rule set, and we have built mechanics into it that are designed with our setting in mind. That being said, they're not necessarily setting exclusive, so can you adapt it to your own setting? Of course. And I intend to have some guidance in there about how specifically the corruption mechanic and how the evil spells are a little bit more powerful because the corruption kind of balances it out. There'll be an option in there to remove the corruption mechanic and then power down the evil spells so that you can apply it to whatever other setting you're trying to do. As far as a sci-fi or post-apocalyptic Legend Seeker experience, that's pretty far beyond where we are right now in terms of scope and planning. Not to say that it's not crossed my mind or something that I'd like to do in the future, but I can't really speak to it now. I have no concrete plans for either of those things at the moment. Not to say that they might not happen if this is all as successful as I'm hoping it will be. Do you think it would be possible to adapt the setting of Erudia and the backgrounds and lore to other rule sets and systems? Sure. I mean, you can adapt any setting to any system if you try hard enough. Are we going to do an official conversion to like Savage Worlds? Not in my plans, but again, who knows with the future, right? Anything's possible. I know there's already a history of Pinnacle doing that, getting a license to properties and then making a Savage conversion and what have you. So possible, sure. Is it going to happen? It's probably more likely to be a homebrew thing that people would do. Okay. Fantastic Sarcastic. Wait, there's benefits for being gold besides giving benefits to shows? I don't know if that's a real question or if that's a sarcastic question. You are Fantastic Sarcastic after all. But yes, there are. We recently announced a couple months ago that there are going to be some additional benefits for gold. So you get a bigger benefit for the shows, first off. So if you go in and you do the tiers, the higher your tier, the more benefits you get to hand out to the casts. And then also, once playtests start in reverse order from highest to lowest is where we'll be introducing invitations to the playtests. So those are the two major benefits. And then for gold and mythic, they're both going to get miniatures of Grix. The gold tier will get a smaller unpainted version, but it'll be the same kind of model. And then mythic tier will get a slightly bigger and painted by a very well-known, popular, and highly skilled model painter. You'll be getting those after having a certain number of months in. I don't have the chart right in front of me, but you'll be able to pull that up. Some people have already qualified for it. So as soon as the model design is done, Keaton is doing the model designs, if you guys know Velrock. And then once they are printed and painted, the people who've already qualified for it will get theirs immediately. Not hand painted by me. No, that would you would not like those results. I promise. Tuzno, speaking of Excalibur, do you have special named weapons? There will be. I don't have any to share at the moment, though. There'll be some things also, like he mentioned, that will just be on the scope of players being able to accomplish. So something about our lore between the Godkiller War and the loss of so many great and powerful wizards, in particular the elder, like first wizards of the Brotherhood and stuff, and libraries and stuff, and towers being burned down during the wars. A lot of old knowledge on magic has just been lost to the sands of time, and the people with the skill to even manage those kind of powers are just gone. So there is higher levels of magic that could exist out there, and the knowledge is just gone. So there's going to be two levels of weapons you'll be able to find as you play the game. You're going to find stuff that is still able to be factioned in modern Erudia. It's going to be like your equivalent to a D&D +1 sword type thing. Just like simple magic enchantments, which is the most of what the world is capable of at the moment. And then through lots of adventuring, you're going to find old relics of the war or of great heroes or past times. And those items are going to be very complex and powerful, and not something that another wizard can remake. So it'll be an exclusive, like, this is a unique item. They're not tons of them all over the place. In some cases, there might even be some things that were mass produced back then but aren't now. For example, I don't know, like what's a good D&D equivalent without like a flame tongue longsword, something like that. A sword made purely of flame. Yeah. People might not know necessarily how to make now, but there probably were more than one of them back during the Godkiller Wars and beyond. So those items you might find. The hilt of a flame tongue. God damn, I can't speak tonight. Flame tongue longsword buried in some like temple somewhere, and have an item that, while it can't be replicated, is powerful and really cool and from an older time. So yeah, there's going to be, and then of course there'll be named weapons, and they're not all necessarily magical. Some of them just have historical significance. Maybe there was a great, warrior king or something, and he had a finely honed battle sword, and something like from Game of Thrones, right? They they name all their swords. They're not necessarily magical, but they're made of the highest quality steel and have like a really cool design to them. And then some items will actually be legendary in the sense like Excalibur or something, where it's a very magical thing. And if you find it, good on you. And then some things will be so legendary you just can't find them, or they were found, used, and you don't have access. Like the breath weapon from Grix, right? That's something he found. He assimilated it into himself, and now it is gone. There is no other breath weapon out there for you to find and destroy gods with. However, I think we've talked about this before, Frost. Whenever he was imprisoned, the power of that breath weapon was so strong that it couldn't all be stored in there, and fragments of it scattered out into the world, and created a material that can be built or enchanted into weapons, and has been over the course of time, to make weapons that are capable of harming even gods, which is why they went into hiding.
Yeah, and it's even actually some natural things. Like we have the god killer bees that are the normal cave bees, but they got into some of that, and now they're these horrific, like, you don't want to mess with them. They will kill you. They destroy the hives and get their amazing honey to make really amazing things, but who really wants to go after a hive of things called god killer bees?
Yep, probably a bad idea. Probably a bad idea. You got to be pretty foolhardy or gold obsessed, I suppose. Alaska Jeff says, is there going to be a race of dragon people? People trying to imitate the dragons, even to their looks, kind of like acolytes of the dragon lores. So cultists, for sure, those will exist. So people who worship dragons and maybe try to alter their own forms and things like that. Definitely, those will be out there. Are there going to be dragonborn or half dragons? As of right now, I don't plan for there to be. I'm not as big into the monster / animal furry type races. I don't know. But this is one, if I was to allow one, this would probably be the closest one, only because we did decide that the most ancient of dragons have the ability to shift into humanoid forms. And so it's possible they could have seduced or gone to bed with other mortals or other races. And what would come from that? We haven't quite decided that lore-wise yet. So
yeah,
this...
I just can't picture a lot of dragons, them being the
Crap, I just disconnected. I didn't get to hear your answer.
Suit.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? I disconnected right when you said that.
Oh, I was saying that I can't see a lot of dragons being the proud first creations of the gods, wanting to put on a two-leg suit and be like, well, look at me, I'm walking around and paying taxes. Like, no, I just...
yeah, they would probably never live that way. It would probably be more of an access thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to go treat with this king, and I got to fit inside his castle. I guess I'll go into my human form, or, things like that. Most likely they're going to stay in their own majestic forms, but also dragons just have that fear aura about them. So maybe the only way they can even talk to the, blubbering people in front of them, sniveling at their feet, is to go into this humanoid form to make them stop being big babies,
I just see a dragon in human form sitting there in a council, just looking over, kind of like almost crying, looking at somebody else going, how do you live like this?
Yeah, exactly.
With noodle arms, no wings.
This is really off topic and a little bit gross, sorry. But I was reading this book, and it's like a comical take on if these group of people got sucked into the world of a tabletop role-playing game. And then answering some of like the questions people like speculate like in their private group of friends. And so they ran into this dragon who did go into a humanoid shape, and she was like a really hot girl in her humanoid shape, but she was a dragon normally, so she didn't care about wearing clothes. She was like, what's wrong with me being naked? And the other guys were like, I want to look, but I shouldn't look. But one of the scenes that made me laugh was she had to take a dump. And so she goes over into the bushes, and it's like the longest, loudest, because druids and everything else. If the dragon ate like 5 cows and then turns into a human, how much waste is there actually, and where did it all go? And so after they get attacked, one of them falls into the pit or whatever, and it's like filled. Like, how could all that shit come from one human-sized person? So yeah, there's some problems. There's questions to wonder about that maybe you don't want answered. I can tell Frost one of those
Nope,
questions
do not
answered.
want to answer it.
Look, Frost,
Nope.
Frost totally wants that answered.
Nope. Done.
So sorry, Jeff. Of all people, I'm sorry that I answered the question that way. Of all the pure people, I answered his question with dragon shit women at the end. My bad. Rory the Romulan says, what is the ceiling on a magician's power? Has a limit ever been crossed? Good question. So there used to be a much higher ceiling. That ceiling has shrunk quite a bit because of the greatest wizards and stuff being lost in the Godkiller War, and the access to that knowledge. Like there's probably some like Library of Alexandria type thing out there that's been burned down and lost, like stuff like that. A lot of ancient knowledge is gone. So just in pure knowledge alone, the power has gone down. And just people who've been practiced and experienced enough, like on the more natural, innate side of things, either long since died or whatever. So the ceiling of magic has gotten a lot lower. But even when it was higher, there was a point where it felt like they couldn't go any further. And so if you're interested in exploring pushing the boundaries of magic, you might be fascinated with the lore behind the Brotherhood of the Gilded Veil. That is their whole shtick. They believe that the gods are being selfish, that they are keeping knowledge from the common man, and that godhood is technically attainable by anyone if you have the knowledge, if you have the time. And they believe that if the gods wanted to, they could grant the gift of divinity to everyone just by sharing that knowledge, and that they're just being greedy and not doing so. So their whole pursuit is trying to uncover those secrets to godhood and constantly push the envelope of what's possible with magic. And as you might imagine, trying to play God and attain those kinds of powers leads to some people making some very questionable decisions along the way. So yeah, has the limit been crossed? Hard to say, because the Brotherhood did keep pushing the boundaries, and every time they thought they found the boundary, they would do one more twisted thing to get a little bit further. Did they ever hit that limit? I guess we don't know, because they got destroyed. But maybe someday we'll find out. A feline named Vajayjay. Question: what is the favorite flavor of soup in Erudia? Does cheese made from other species beyond cows and goats exist? Frost, that's you.
Wow. Favorite soup? Jeez, it depends on the area. The people in Kiru have their own favorite. The Agrians love their fishy soups, bordering on the stuff they use. It's garum, which is horrifying. If you don't know what garum is, go look it up. Garum, usually spelled that way. There are also a lot of different types of cheeses, and I mentioned a few of them here and there. And the orcs have a special kind of cheese they like, but it's actually head cheese. And if you don't know what head cheese is, go look that up too. But yeah, there are a whole bunch of different things out there. Now, I haven't figured out if you can have cheese from feral pigs. I don't think you can. Can you milk a pig? I don't know. The orcs would try.
Well, I have made a couple decisions in the short amount of time that we just discussed this. Have we decided if there's a dragon noodle soup in Erudia yet?
If there is, it would probably be in the Cindervale or the Tea House or somewhere in either Kiru or in the Azure Kingdom. Because Kiru, they have a lot of old dealings with dragon lore, because there is the Tea House, and we know what the Tea House is all about. But in the Azure Kingdom, there are a number of dragons there that were entombed as royalty, so they might have something.
Can we make a dragon noodle soup, and the lore behind it is it's so spicy that there is a 5% chance after consuming it you get the equivalent of dragon's breath, the magic spell, for a short amount of time?
They only serve it outside on patios.
Yes, I think that would be amazing. The second thing is we're definitely going to have Rudy Poo cheese. So we'll work on that. Some Rudy Poo milk and Rudy Poo cheese. You guys asked for it. You just asked for it. If Feline named JJ said we want cheese from other creatures, well, the Rudy Poo is the perfect specimen for this, I believe.
Will you roll me a D100 real quick if you have one handy?
Sure. Let me see if I can do that for you.
Because I think you're gonna get hit by one of the table of pranks, as if you just Kika decided to bless you. Bless you.
86.
86. We're near the end here. For the next day, you're nagged by thoughts of having forgotten to do something important.
Crap!
At the last place you rested.
That's my normal state.
When I saw this, I was like, this is
How can it be
perfect.
worse?
Well, the one above that was you unconsciously say beep at the most inopportune times for the next day.
Incredible.
The chat helped me come up with a huge list of these. If you pray at a shrine of Kika, you might get a blessing from her.
Ah, yes. Kika blessings. Who wouldn't want those?
Yes. But there was the one that I had at 100 was your spirit animal is a Rudy poo. Literally, this cowardly spirit shrieks at the worst times. So there's like a ghostly Rudy poo following around for a whole day.
Perfect. Yeah.
Horrifying.
So there you go, chat. I hope you're happy. You got dragon noodle soup and Rudy Poo milk and cheese. I hope you're so thrilled.
Oh no, I forgot to add that to the book. Oh well.
Any plans to? Oh God, I feel an name for JJ. Any plans to add a facilities or tables to milk other species like minotaurs or dragons? Well, Chrysanth's still working on her legendary character. She did say that she wanted to make a shopkeep, maybe. So I guess she could be the shopkeep of the Minotaur milking farm. I suppose that's an option. If she's not gonna, come up with a better option like I've asked her to, I guess that could be what we default to. We'll see which way that motivates her, perchance. Chrysanth had a question. I know you're referencing the Thursday game, but no burrowing, then magic missile as a dragon, then burrow again. Screw you. No, that will not happen. That'll never happen. A feline name for JJ. Internal combustion or steam-powered items? Not as of yet. I don't really intend on going steampunk too much with Erudia. There might be some like gnomish devices, possibly. Me and Frost have kind of been brainstorming a little bit about that, talked about it a tiny bit, but we haven't really fully explored that, I don't think. Have crafting rules been established? No. I am still working on the crafting rules and what specifically can be crafted. Right now, my current, at least like the placeholder I have, inclination is that crafting is possible, that some items will have recipes, and then when you look at the Tome of Threats, the creatures will have a little section in their lore that says things that can be harvested from them, and a lot of those things will be key ingredients and the things that you're able to craft out in the world. So you actually do have to, find some of this stuff out there.
How long would it take to skin a dragon? I'm just asking for a friend.
Days. It takes days to skin a dragon, as we found out in Pathfinder. Everybody thinks if you roll the dice and succeed, you just automatically skin something and the skin's there in your hand. And no, sir, skinning something the size of a freaking 2 houses, it's going to take you a few days. That is not a quick thing.
Nope.
A feline named DJ. Will there be an ability to re-roll endowment? Of course, you can always house rule anything you'd like. Tuesnows, never having played tabletop. I guess you don't carry characters over from campaign to campaign. Not true. That is entirely up to you and your DM and what you guys want to do. Sometimes you finish a campaign and your character stories end there. Sometimes you're like, hey, we like these characters and we want to keep playing them, and you might find another campaign at the same level that you ended on, or you might homebrew something and just kind of build off wherever you ended. So you can definitely carry on characters of the campaigns. I've certainly done it before. It just depends. It depends on what's going on and what the situation is. Dragon Noodle Soup tipped $2. Thank you, Dragon Noodle Soup. And says, Dragon have heartburn. Well, when you have Dragon Noodle Soup, and it could potentially give you flame breath properties, that'll do that to you. I actually don't know where this is from. Is this from Discord? Okay, Tomix says, so you confirm that gods wear outfits. Who designs these outfits? Are there minor tailor gods? Do they just go to the market? Good question. I suspect that they probably just materialize them on their bodies. Or who knows? Maybe they've got their worshippers out there doing like giant cloth factory costume design for these guys. That could also be a thing. I'll let
Probably just hand wave it all.
Yeah, I figure it's just and it appears. You know, they're freaking gods, right? Havoc, is there a mundane or a magic crafting system that has been fleshed out? So the magic crafting system I've actually done more work on than I have the regular crafting. And it's pretty similar to what I was saying earlier. Minor enchantments exist. You'll be able to do things, and the only thing that I'm kind of going back and forth on is this might be class specific. So it might only be wizards under a certain talent tree that can specialize in enchanting items. But they're going to be more minor to major enchantments. So things like giving a weapon +1, or allowing the weapon to do some fire damage, or making it half its weight magically, things like that. Lots of enchantments and things like that. But it'll probably be similar to the druids, where you enchant the weapon, you spend your resources, you pick a couple options on a few tables depending on your power level. So if like you're a low level wizard, you could probably put one enchantment. If you're a higher level wizard, you could probably like do 3 to 4 of those enchantments to combine them together. And then you make your roll and see if you succeed. And the resources get consumed whether you succeed or not. So that's currently the plan I have in place for magic item crafting. Are there things in the world like towns or special facilities or other means to supplement speed up crafting? Yes. So if you go through a merchant, they can always craft items for you. Magic items, you'll have to find a specialized artificer or wizard to do that for you. But yes, that is certainly a faster way to do it. Probably a little bit more expensive because you're paying for that person's labor on top of the material components, and on top of the fact that they had to probably quest to get that stuff. So it'll be more expensive. But when you think about game time, you're almost always better off spending the extra money, because the amount of times it takes to actually craft something is a very long time in game. But hey, it's yours, it is personal, and maybe the payoff is worth the in-game time it takes. King Darth Dave for $2. Sorry, I was distracted by ordering 2026 calendars coming to a Moonskull store near you. Yes, me and Darth Dave are currently working on a very interesting calendar for you guys. I think you're gonna love it. You'll be so happy to have it for the New Year's, I am sure. Dragon Noodle Soup for $5 says, why Frost Cup get here faster than Erudi books? Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I guess there must be fulfilling your cup orders now. Chrysanth, did you ever get yours, by the way? Because I know you're saying you hadn't gotten yours yet. Oh, crap. Where'd the... Oh, she's deleting them. Okay. But yeah, obviously books take a little bit more time. Right after that, Chrysanth says, hey, did you actually order the cup? Yes, I did. You do have that. Dragon Noodle Soup. Oh, that reminds me. I don't have my Rulebook cup.
Chrysanth still didn't get hers. Weird. Wonder why.
I want my Rulebook cup too. Dragon Noodle Soup for $5. You know what? I'm going to forget. Damn it. My stickies are gone again. Let me make a phone reminder. I need to check on my order as well.
Look, Calvino. His stickies are gone again. Oh, well.
I keep bringing them here, and then...
Is Poppy walking around with, stickies on her paws? Just,
Probably. It's probably her fault.
Calvino, no, don't try.
Okay. Now I'll be able to remember to check on that, because I paid some good money for my Rulebook mug, and I still don't have it. If anybody else had an issue too, let me know, because I might dig in to see why everybody's mugs are late. If you can't make magical... Oh, this is Dragon Noodle Soup again. If you can't make magical items, wouldn't a person be better off in the universe by being a breeder of creatures that are naturally magical? Well, I don't know. You got to feed those, and they also need to be obedient. A lot of magical creatures aren't exactly breedable or even docile. Like, you can't really get them to do what you want. So probably not. There's probably a good chance you're going to go Hagrid, and only difference is the monsters will actually eat you. So dangerous, dangerous profession, I would say, trying to do that. But that being said, I already mentioned you will be able to make some magical items. It's the really powerful stuff you'll have to quest for. Fantastic Sarcastic. Will there be familiars, and will there be stats or benefits tied to them? Yes, there will be familiars. In fact, there'll be 2 different types of familiars. Actually, take that back. 3 types. So you'll have wizards who can have familiars, and theirs will be picked from a pretty standard like list of actual creatures. So it won't be like the druid, where it's a fake statistic. It'll actually be the raven or the rat or the whatever. And they'll be able to do some things with those. Scout with them. There'll be some talents tied to it, so you can do things like see through their eyes. They're going to have, in Legend Seeker, they're going to be a little bit less powerful than they are in like D&D or Pathfinder. You're not going to be able to scout like 12 miles away using your familiar. There are going to be some limitations, but you'll definitely have familiars, and they'll be able to do things for you. The witch and the warlock will have familiars as well, but theirs are going to be a little bit more functional to their actual core being, because the witches and the warlocks are approached by other entities, their patrons, and they're usually approached to them through a familiar that has been sent by that patron, and that patron is sort of in service to and tied to the caster, and is a source of their magic. So their familiar being around is pretty important. Probably don't want to be reckless with your familiar. If it dies, you won't have access to your magic until you get that familiar back, until your patron resends it to you. So yeah, there'll be familiars, and they'll have a different set of mechanics depending on what type of caster you are. Lynn Green, are there feminists in Erudia? Yes, there absolutely are. If you join the Church of Davila, that is a very matriarchal order. The priests are all female. There are no male priests. There are paladins that are male, but the actual leaders of the order in terms of religious hierarchy are all female. So I guess that could be your equivalent of a feminist. They're very female empowerment oriented. Now, are you talking about the kind of feminists we have? Probably not.
They're in Concordia.
Yeah, Concordia. Yeah, there you go. That's right. I forgot Concordia. Anything that is Looney Tunes from this world is probably going to be, you'll see that in Concordia. Where do they have the plantations of Alrune and mandrakes? I don't know what that word is. Frost?
It's a female version of a mandrake. It's a Germanic thing. It's like mandrakes, and the female version. They're a root basically that can seduce you or kill you. Basically.
Oh, well, okay.
Because that's, you want your plants to seduce you and then eat your flesh or something. I don't know.
That just sounds like Chrysanth. All right.
The Germans.
The Germans. So I don't know. I guess to answer that question, that would be a Frost question. Are there plantations of those things?
There are places where people cultivate them, but I wouldn't say they're plantations. I mean, they're specifically used by different creatures for different things, magicians, witches, and whatnot. So, witch's garden, probably. Somewhere near Agrium, probably not allowed. Probably not something they'd be growing around people. Druids, probably.
Fantastic. Well, there you go, DNS. Circus Freak says, speaking of things Chrysanth never got, what is the status of the nugget knife? I have that. It is sitting in a box over here. I guess I should probably ship that. My original intent was to hand it to her in person, but so many things have shifted. It probably won't be until September next year that I'd even be able to do that. So I don't know. I'll work that out with her, but I do have it. It is here. It is in my possession. Just probably not going to hand it to her the way I originally intended. All right. Chrysanthemum, same here with a hoodie. Dear God, are none of these things shipping out? Well, I'm switching. So I'm going to be switching merchant providers. We're going to be going over to Fourth Wall anyways. So hopefully we won't have these problems. I don't know what's happened with Spring. They've really gone downhill, it sounds like. A bunch of people haven't gotten their stuff even though they ordered it. And I just want you to know that's not a me thing. I designed them. They're supposed to produce them. I have no control over that other than pestering them. So I will pester them again if there are people who've not gotten their stuff. Speaking of things... Oh, wait. Did I already do that one? Oh, it's just in the screenshot twice. Darth Dave, I canceled my orders from the store. Yeah, weird. That is so weird. Sorry that happened to you, Dave. I'll redesign the stuff we already have and I'll put it up on Fourth Wall once I have it. This fourth quarter of the year has been so insanely packed between, well, the shakeup and management and changes and putting out all the fires for the shows, and then also just the content we had already planned to do happening at the same time. I just have not had time to get Fourth Wall up and running, but here after the holiday, I should have a little bit more room to breathe, hopefully. So I'll get Fourth Wall running. DNS, is Frost's beard a magic item?
I don't want to say yes because I think someone will try and steal it. So nope, totally mundane, uninteresting. Nobody wants it.
Yeah, you know what? Just do a detect magic if you ever run into them, and then you'll know.
On screen, I'll just do this. I'll cut it off, and then it'll go whoop, Santa Claus style. Come back and go, oh no.
Perfect. I like the idea of animate object on your beard and it just crawls off your face and strangles somebody, and then it crawls back and just reinserts itself. That'd be amazing.
It's like Entangle.
Yeah, it's like Entangle with beard.
Oh boy, I got my new character figured out.
Amazing. If I'm playing a barbarian, this is fantastic sarcastic. If I'm playing a barbarian and I pick up the wizard and beat my opponent with said wizard, does it count as a magical weapon? Narratively, yes. Mechanically, probably not. DNS for $5. Has Chrysanth been seducing you to consume your flesh, Erudi? Okay, first off, no. I was saying that is her plant person character. That's how it probably operates, because he was talking about plants that seduce and consume you. But also, yes, she's a gypsy, so she probably absolutely... I don't go visit, right? So I don't want to find myself in... I don't want to find myself in that dangerous situation, so I don't put myself in it. See how that works? Be smart, guys. Be smart. Don't visit Chrysanth. Don't let her put a gypsy curse on you. All right. I think I caught up to it all. I am so good. I am so fast. I got the biggest brain and I answered the most questions. Wow, Dave. She's going to kill you for that one.
Remember Dave when he used to be alive? Yeah, those were good times.
Yeah, that's probably not going to be a thing for too much longer. Oh boy. All right, while we have a lull in questions, I did want to make a small announcement just for those who are watching. I'll be posting this a little bit later too. I literally just announced that we're doing an Alien one-shot with some familiar faces that you guys have been asking about, and I've kept this tightly under wraps. There was absolutely no way you guys could have known that this was coming. There were no hints, and I kept it airtight. My back end was sealed very tight, and there was nobody able to penetrate it and get this information. No data leaks whatsoever. So I finally did share the top secret. Why are you looking at me like that, Frost?
It just it got worse and worse the more words you said.
I'm just saying that the back end of my my data repository, it's very secure at a federal level. But we announced that we're doing a one-shot, and we're going to have some familiar faces there. Disparu, Comics Division, and what have you, plus some of the faces you know and love from Moonskull on its own. So we're going to be doing an Alien one-shot. However, as soon as I announced that it was this weekend, Of course, some complications came up, so it's being moved to the next weekend. It'll be on the 20th. I'll put an update on the server for you guys, but just in case you were planning your weekend around that, what you're going to be doing that afternoon or whatever, I wanted to let you guys know here. You heard it here first, okay? We're going to be moving that to the next weekend. So it's still happening, but it never fails. I asked for like 3 weeks. Everybody good? We still good? We doing all right? We okay? I'm about to post it. You guys good? Post. Actually, god damn it. It is what it is, but it'll be a lot of fun and I'm looking forward to it. Yes, secure your back end, people. It's very important. Data security is a high priority. DNS for $5 is people penetrating your back end a common occurrence? Or I know, because mine's very secure. When you are a professional like me, and you know a lot about keeping your back end secure from intruders, you don't have a lot of unsolicited penetrations, okay? So you'll be all right if you practice your data security. All right, go learn some things.
Don't say unsolicited. That implies there's questions arise. No.
Or solicited. There's no solicited. I don't solicit people to break into my back end either. You know,
little late. Perfect save. Good job.
I'm just
100%.
I'm just saying. Okay.
Erudi, stop talking. Crescent says.
Okay, sorry. Crescent, sorry. I'll stop talking. Tonic says, is there a guild dedicated to hunting down the remaining gods? No. Well, could there be? I don't know how to think about that. That's a really tall order. I mean, that's like might as well call it the Suicide Squad. You're planning on dying.
It's just a bunch of old dudes who have nothing to live for. They just talk about it all the time. They don't actually do anything.
Yeah, because that's tough. Not only is it like really hard to get to those domains in the first place, but everything that's there is epic level. Like, the god itself isn't even the core problem. You got to get to the god. And there's a lot of very god tier level things along the way that are going to be an issue. So I feel like it'd be a guild that wouldn't last very long. But
it's just a bunch of old guys shaking their hands at the clouds. If we could get to you,
but maybe I don't know. That could be a lore challenge to think if there's now that there are artifacts in the world that could potentially damage gods. Maybe there are people who
Grix's followers probably have grand plans.
True. There are there's Grix's order. There might even be the order of the keepers. Any of those could maybe have machinations. Probably not an all-out assault on all gods at once, but maybe there's plots to assassinate gods in some way. We'd have to think about that, but certainly it'd be an interesting plot device. If anybody was, though, it would certainly be Grix's. You're right. It would be Grix's society, considering he wanted to destroy all the other gods in the first place. There you go.
Oh man. Sorry, just reading chat.
You know what? Chrysanth is very discouraging. She is. I don't know why she is the way that she is. Listen, Chrysanth, people need to know about back-end security, right? The number one way people find their privacy violated is by people penetrating their back end. So you want to have the knowledge out there to ensure that people are able to overcome that and be able to stop would-be penetrators from doing so. Yeah, so make sure data security, guys. You want to make sure data security is a major thing. Are there dragon hunting guilds? Now that is a good question. Yes, we'll just say yes. In fact, there is going to be. This is not something I have announced. I don't even think this is something I've. I don't know if I've talked to Froste about this at all or not. But there's going to be a. I talked about how there's going to be like advanced classes that you build towards. One of them will be a dragon hunter class. And it'll be built around fighting dragons and other very large creatures and specializing in taking them down. So could there be a guild around that? Trophy hunting dragons is a thing. It's barbaric. A lot of people consider it barbaric, but it exists.
Yeah. Well, there's an entire area in Kiru where people are hunting all kinds of mythical creatures and large things that live in this really remote, horrible area. And there is supposedly an old dragon who died in the area, but the dragon isn't actually dead. So that could be a fun place for them to go do that.
Would be perfect. It's a fine line to walk because, as beast-like as they look, they're not beasts. They're very much a civilization and a people in the same way that elves and humans are. So hunting them is a little, it's barbaric, and some might even consider it evil. But also there are evil dragons, and somebody's got to take care of them, right? Dragon Noodle Soup for $5. I'm registering this as Erudi has a plug to not have his back end penetrated. Well, yeah. If you're saying, do I have a software to plug to you to keep you from having your back end penetrated, I would suggest something like NordVPN. Now, this is not an official plug. I don't get any sort of benefit from that, but it is something you could put on your device to help you not fall prey to certain malicious softwares. Also, just don't click strange links and things like that. Tomic says, I'm not being fed questions by Frost. Why do you ask? Frost, do you have something to admit?
Tomix is a troll. Totally a troll. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wonderful.
He's not a mouthpiece. Nope. So here's $5, Tomix, if you ask him about, I don't know. Don't ask him about the back end. No, please don't.
I did try something new today, chat. I don't know if it's if you guys are a fan of this or not. I made a Death Wish coffee latte. I steamed and frothed some milk and then put a double dose of Death Wish coffee in it. It's pretty good. I don't think it's had any effect on my behavior at all, but I do think it is a very delicious thing. So I don't know. You guys have Death Wish coffee. You might consider giving it a go. Let's see. Is there a back end on a god? Well, I mean, all things poop, right? So yeah, of course. Wait, I just missed something. Would I dump the coffee down the drain? Why? This is good coffee. Why would I do that? Oh, a feline named JJ had a question for Chrysanth. Are you going to accept your fate as the Minotaur Milkmaiden? Or are you going to finish a character this year? Yeah, it's a good question. You guys should really harass her about that. If she would just make a character, I wouldn't have to default it to this original merchant she wanted, who's now going to be a Minotaur milk farm maiden. But she'd have to actually give me an actual concept, That's just a thing that would just have to happen. You can't throw away my coffee because you're not here. More white in my dark brew? I don't know what that means. Do rocks poop? Well, I don't know. They're not living things, are they? Are rocks living things? I don't think so. Well, maybe in Legacy.
No Dragon Noodle Soup. You can't have these. These are my salami whips.
Salami whips? That sounds like a euphemism.
Nope, they're just salami in the shape of a whip.
I hope I didn't just ruin those for you. DNS for $2 says, Frost, give me one of them sticks. Okay, well, that makes more sense now that I've seen your response. You know what? I need to reach out to Death Wish and see if they're willing to do a sponsorship. I plug them enough after all. Oh, there'll definitely be a Minotaur milk farm in Erudia that Chrysanth's character will run if she doesn't come up with a better character. Sassy says Frost's eye expressions. I don't know why he reacts to the things I'm saying. They're perfectly normal, to be honest with you.
I've been around a long time and I'm still shocked.
You know what? The Cornering does offer an affiliate program for Coffee Brand Coffee, and I will say honestly, I do like his coffee. I've had it. He has one that's a whiskey flavored coffee, which is actually really good. I like that one a lot. I don't know if we're even at 10,000. I don't know if we're big enough for an affiliate deal, but the SDCV Titan, Croissant's character will be on a Minotaur milking farm. That's the plan. That's the plan. Yes, Jensen, we do need to talk about your character. When you're ready, I'm ready. Let's do it. I don't like that Croissant's 5 hours away. That's scary. Can Frost elaborate on that one hermit living in a place with no animals?
The hermit that lives near the Springstone? I'm assuming that one, the one in the Aoten Fields or Aoten Felds in the area in Keru. I can't go into too much more detail on him, but yeah, there is a stone, a mysterious stone. Some people think it was left by the keepers, or maybe the Brotherhood of the Gilded Veil, sitting in the center of this beautiful little valley where it's always spring. It never gets cold. It never gets too hot. Some people believe it's a shrine to Erudor, but nobody exactly knows. He lives there just with he and his dog, and he's trying to fathom the nature of it, and he's never quite figured it out. But he gets to watch the will-o-wisp do their dances and the auroras over it every month. But yeah, there's some mysterious little bit of lore around him. That there's a couple things that I'm not going to tell you guys. It'll be in the book though. Fantastic. So there you go.
Fantastic. There you go. A Frost mystery. A little mystery box for you guys. We all like a good box. Mystery box. Jensen. Well, she's evil, Jensen. She would go that far just to throw away my coffee. She's a gypsy. What did you expect? Yeah, DNS, why do you bully me? Or why does she bully me? You're right. She is mean to bully me. I know that's what you meant, that she is bullying me, the poor man. I wonder what Frost looks like on the Thursday night games. I can imagine. It probably looks an awful lot like I look.
I look just like this, but most of the time I'm sitting at my desk talking like this.
Yeah.
With my head in my hands.
That's probably
it's
about
good thing
right.
I don't have a camera on.
Yep.
You guys make some decisions. That's all I'm going to say.
There's decisions, and they make them. That is all there is to be said. Circus Freak says, can you clarify, is there dragon meat in Erudia dragon noodle soup, or are dragon noodles a special type of pasta? I sincerely doubt there would be dragon meat. I cannot.
It's dragon, like crab is spelled with a K.
Yeah.
Dragon meat.
It's probably getting the name because the broth is so spicy, or whatever peppers in it are so spicy. That's the idea behind the name. I guess there could be like bow tie pasta shaped in dragon wings or some shit, but that wasn't the intent. No, I think there'd be two problems with dragon meat being in a soup. One, the dragons probably wouldn't put up for that for very long, and two, it would be incredibly expensive. Probably was asked this, but why is it called Erudia? Is it really just an ego thing? No, actually. So the lore behind this is, I wouldn't say it's deep, but it goes back a little ways. So when I first announced this, I hadn't decided on a name for my setting yet. And so we just jokingly called it Erudia as like a placeholder. And so we just kind of like, and I kind of did it to like pick on like Michaela at the time, because she was like, no, don't call it that. So I would just like, as a placeholder, be like, in Erudia, blah, 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 whatever. But then we got to the point where it was really time to pick a setting name. And so I left it to you guys, actually. So if you were one of the founding supporters of Legend Seeker, and by the way, there's going to be more polls like this. So the longer you're supporting, the more things you're going to get to decide about the setting. But I put out a poll. I was like, guys, here's, I think it was like 10 names. Vote what names you want. And I showed everybody the original list, and we kind of went over it and narrowed it down to a bunch of names. And then as a couple people said, why don't you include Erudia? Like, they actually, I guess, liked the name. And I was like, I don't think anybody's going to pick that. It was kind of a joke. But we put it on the list anyways. And then after the voting, we did 3 rounds of voting that kind of narrowed it down, and Erudia won. It was what was voted for. So I wasn't expecting that to ultimately be the name, but I am humbled that that is what you guys decided to pick. And there are some benefits to it. You know, at first I was a little kind of squeamish about it, like I didn't want to seem weird by putting my name on it. But it's got kind of a classic fairy tale kind of sound to it when you add the ia to the end of Erudi. And also it kind of gives me Gygax immunity, right? If something were to ever happen and somehow I got kicked off my own property and it fell into the hands of like some other company or something, kind of hard to delete the entire setting and remove me from my product. So there is that too. So there are some things that over time I've gotten more comfortable with it and thought about it, and I'm glad you guys picked that. So yeah, there you go. Dragon noodle soup for $5. Aren't there those little dragon creatures that are like seagulls? Couldn't they be dragon meat and dragon noodle soup? Do we have dragon seagulls?
Yeah, they're the little whistlings that are along the caustic strand, the little nuisance dragony things that harass the fishermen. And I mean, sure, if you want to eat seagull soup, they're the rats of the sky, basically.
Yeah, they're kind of not quite bottom feeders, but I mean, yeah, that's what you'd be eating. I don't know. I guess that could be a way to do it if they're over there by Kiru. They're not real
they're
dragons.
far away from Kiru, so yeah, they'd have to be something else. It's probably literally just moonfish, just little whitefish, moonfish with noodles.
If there's even meat, it could literally just be like a pho, or I never say it right. Pho or whatever. It's just spicy. Pho.
Yeah, that stuff.
DNS for $5. Frost and Moss are going to kick you out and take over. I support regime change. Well, you guys voted for the name Erudia, so if they do kick me out, they still have to write stories in Erudia. So ha,
damn it.
I am way behind. Way behind. You know what, Michaela, you're right. Michaela is responsible for a lot of things. She's the reason Dungeon Daddy exists. And she's also the reason Erudia exists. So Michaela brings you all the wonderful things. Atomic says, so you got Bodie McBoatface. Basically, yeah. We didn't expect they would actually vote for it, and then, well, they did. Darth Dave says Erudia is the best name. Well, thank you. I don't know if you mean it, but I appreciate it nonetheless. This is why voting matters. Wow, guys. Wow. I love democracy. How about claim you chose your name based on the map rather than the map based on your name? That could help with branding. So you think that say I chose my name. So we're going to claim now that Erudia was named first and I just wanted to be named after it. Yeah, that's fine. We can create that mythology. We can go with that. Stockholm Syndrome? Wow, JT. Wow. I don't anticipate getting kicked out of my own game, but it was just something that I had a conversation. Who was I talking to? It might have been Chrysanth. I can't remember. No, I wasn't.
Like, how do I kick you out of your own game?
Wait, but I was just talking about like how I was surprised people actually picked that, and then I was like, well, I guess, if there's one plus side, I could never be Gygaxed. They basically removed him from all mentions of the game he created at this point, which is so sad. But no, I don't really intend to like ever go public with this or sell it to anybody. So I don't think that would ever be a risk anyways. But it's good to know though that if I ever had that option, I would have that going for me. I got smoke coming out of my ears. Okay, I had to read it a couple times and think, okay. Change it to Frostia. Maybe that'll be a different continent. We could have a Frostia, a Mothsia. One continent for every creator. Dear God. Good job, guys. Fake lore. Yeah,
I think it would be Australia, honestly.
Australia is brilliant. Now I want a Australia. Damn it! How can we make Australia happen?
We got other continents. We can do it.
Maybe that can be in Canada. There could be a Australia. I think that would be that would be so fantastic.
It's just nothing but just banana spiders everywhere.
Having your game stolen is a real concern, so I don't blame you for having the watermark over it. Good strategy. Yeah, no, I think it was an accidental strategy, but I think it is smart. Because to get to the point where somebody could ever take it from me, I would first have to put myself in the position to have it taken. So I'd have to create some sort of like board that could vote me out, or sell it publicly, or let somebody else invest into it and have a commanding share, that kind of stuff, which I don't intend to do any of that. So I'd have to put myself in that position. But you're right, if I ever did, for some reason, if I down the road got some sort of advice that was like, this would be really smart for you to do, and I believed them and did it, you're right, at least I'd had that big watermark over there. So if they robbed me of my universe, they could not rob me of my mushroom stamp. Australia, an island with people without souls. I love it. Moss trails. Oh my god. In Australia, do they call each other the C word all the time? Probably. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Entirely populated by gingers. Yes. Yes. Dragon Noodle Soup for $5. Welcome to Dragon Noodle Soupia, tastiest place on earth. Well, now we're stretching the limits here just a little bit, okay? They'll definitely have long fruit in Australia. That is a true statement. Some sort of form of banana. Do you have
and everything
lore?
Is measured in bananas. Yep.
Percent. All right. She said, "Oh yeah." Okay, this is from Tomix. Oh yeah, that's a good question. Do you have lore reaching back to the creation of the universe?
The timeline starts.
So I guess it's a two-layer question. If you mean Erudia specifically and the Godlands, yes, we have a timeline written. That's going to be in the setting guide that Froste is writing. Yeah. If you mean beyond or before Erudia, do we have one written that's available to you guys? No, at least not yet. But whether or not there is lore about what came before Erudia and the Keepers and all of that, there's some stuff up here that's sloshing around and slowly brewing. Did I skip a super? Which super did I skip? No, I got them. It must be delayed. But yeah, so but in the book, no, it's only going to go as far back as the current setting, as far as how things came to be. But that lore will be there. So I think yes, that we do have the creation of Erudia and the Godlands. That is all in the mythology. In fact, you can already kind of read about that if you are a Patreon member. We have entries on that. They've been a little updated since then. In the setting guide, you'll see a more current version of it, but it does exist. You're right. I do have a very big brain. There's probably no sloshing because there wouldn't be enough room for that. It was a figure of speech. For sure, for sure. But we are coming up on time. Did you have any last minute questions, Chat or Frost?
No, I mean, pretty much everything that I need for tomorrow, I've got answered for my show.
Wonderful. What do you mean it doesn't fit in the camera? Let me look at my camera. Well, yeah, listen, that's just because my hair's a little out of place there too. That's just because I recently changed the camera position and the zoom of everything, and I just haven't recropped this damn overlay because we haven't done this show in a little while. So I'm glad you guys showed up and we got to answer a lot of questions tonight because we did get a lot of them. Looks like we've got a couple more questions coming in. I'll wait till they populate here and then we'll close out the show with those questions. What's coming up in terms of Legend Seeker here soon? Obviously, like I said, we've moved everything back here to Moonskull, so all future shows will be on Moonskull. Frost Written has already started over here and will continue over here. This show will also take place on there. We're gonna have some other streams that will be coming up in the hopefully near future. Effie's next stream will be on here. So for Legend Seeker, I think the next thing will be obviously Frost Written, and then Effie, I gotta confirm with her, but I think it's in 2 weeks. Will be her next stream. So keep your eyes out for that. We'll have some more announcements coming out here. I know the announcements have been a little more infrequent. Kind of just had nose to the grinders and not a lot of like things that are ready to put out there yet. I need to put out some more questions for you guys. I've been trying to make those questions like geared around things that I'm thinking about as I'm writing. And I just haven't been in a place where I really needed to interrogate your minds. But I'll try to think of some stuff to communicate with you guys and keep you engaged with me and chatting and helping us inspire everything that we're doing over here. Dragon Ball Super $5. Chat, help Erudi trying to kill us in the private game. No, I would never do that. Okay, let's see. What is the most powerful being in existence currently or in the past? Well, I think technically, if we're not going outside of Erudia and going to like the Keepers, because technically they would be the most powerful, it would probably have to be Grix, I would say, as like a singular entity. He is because gods themselves are immortal and unkillable. You can't kill a god except for the power that Grix unearthed. So he is currently the only god who can kill another god. I think that by default would make him the most powerful. He's kind of neutered at the moment, though, because he's imprisoned, so he can't get to anyone. What do you think? Do you think that's pretty accurate?
Yeah, because I mean, technically, nobody really has any meetings or dealings with the Keepers. So, I mean, in essence, they'd be more powerful, but they don't do anything. So yeah, the one that's manifested power the most in the whole world of Erudia would be Grix by his actions. I mean, yes. You could argue that Senna is more powerful if you want to get metaphysical.
True, yeah, I guess that is an argument you could make.
You'd have to be probably a follower of Senna to believe that.
And some people might think you're crazy.
Exactly.
I'm interested to explore that lore eventually as well. So yeah, there you go. If you guys don't know, if you're not on the back end, Senna is a god who died in the God Killer War, and she's the only, at least the only major god. I think we might have had some dead demigods, but she's the only major god to have actually been killed, and she still has priests who worship her, and despite her being dead, still have some connection to her divine magic and are able to use those powers. And there's a lot of speculation as to why that is. And people kind of look at people who still worship a dead god funny, like, hello, your god's dead. There's some real gods over here you can worship. Why are you a loony? But yeah, the longest running show on a Legend Seeker channel is Frostwritten.
Woo!
That record will now officially never be broken. No, not Christmas FE. It's not this weekend. I think it's gonna be the weekend after. I'm pretty sure. But okay, I need to end the show here so that I can eat some food and stuff maybe before my private game, where I definitely won't be TPKing DNS and Dave and Chrysanth and all of them. I'm gonna do my best to definitely not try to TPK them. Plus, I think we got a new player and I got to onboard that person. So, any last words from you, Frost?
Don't TPK them. I mean, unless you really, really, really want to, then go ahead.
They're TPKing themselves, if I'm being honest.
Oh, okay, never mind. They're doing it to themselves. Got it.
I don't even have to do anything, to be honest. Where can they find you? What will you be up to?
They can find me here on Moonskull. You won't find me over on Legend Seeker anymore. If you're looking there, not gonna find me. You'll find me over here. You'll find me on my channels, and you'll also find me over on Tales from the Dragon's Tavern. Something coming up soon. So there you go.
All right, you guys know where to find me. Here, and pretty much only here. Big thing that I'd have you keep your eyes out for. One, please support Legend Seeker. If you like what we've talked about tonight and would help to like bring this to life, we've got some bottlenecks that are pretty tough to get through, particularly on the art side. And eventually it's going to get to the point where we're going to have that same, not as bad, but we're going to have an editing issue that we're going to come up on once we've got the core books ready to go for editing. So if you want to help us get through those hurdles to get that book out there, you can do that by supporting Legend Seeker on our Patreon. Is the best way to do it. You can also support right here on Moonskull by subscribing to the Legendary tier. And you can also subscribe on the Discord. And that would be the, in terms of returns for us, that is the order of preference. We get our biggest cut from Patreon, then YouTube, then Discord. So those are for your considerations about wherever your favorite place is, whenever's more comfortable. If you'd like to support, we'd gladly have you. Plus, you get access to all the lore and stuff early. We put lore entries on there for you guys to read. You also get to vote on things like the setting name, for example. You guys decided on what the Moonskull, a creature that we have made in the universe, is going to look like. You picked the art for it. So you're going to have other things that will be decided about the universe or in the game, and you could be a part of that. And, of course, you get to play test. So go support. And then other than that, only big thing for me on the Moonskull side, we're doing the Alien one-shot. It's going to be a hell of a cast. We've got Epic Mike, we've got Disparu, we've got Comics Division, we've got Moss, we've got Kristen from Avenue Studios, we've got Carol Brown. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. It's going to be a 3-part one-shot. And it's going to be not this weekend, but the next. Right now it shows this weekend. I got to go move that. But it's going to be on the 20th at 11 a.m. I know you guys have been waiting for them to come back on here. It's tough to get these people all on the same page long enough to do something, but I finally was able to get us all in one spot at the same time. So doesn't happen often. Come check it out. Other than that, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.